Welcome to the Raw Files. Behind every closed door, there's a secret. Behind every silent face, there's a story the world wasn't meant to hear. Today, we peel back the layers of a case that defies logic and challenges the very core of human nature. Stay tuned, because the truth is never as simple as it seems. What you are about to hear are true stories, gathered from the darkest corners of the globe. Some of these cases have been closed, their mysteries tucked away in dusty archives. Others remain chillingly unsolved, leaving behind questions that time refuses to answer. But then, there are those cases where the official verdict just doesn't sit right, leaving us to wonder if justice was truly served, or if the real truth is still out there, hiding in plain sight. Today, we step into the shadows to peel back the layers of these enigmas. If you have a thirst for the truth, make sure to subscribe and join us for the journey ahead. Now, let's open the files. October 11th, 1998, 7 in the morning. A quiet mountain road in Linkou District, Taipei, Taiwan. A young man arrives at a luxury estate to deliver the morning newspaper. He has done this every day for months. He knows the rhythm of this house. He knows that the owner is always outside, exercising in the courtyard, playing with the family dog, moving with the energy of a man who built his fortune with his own hands. This morning, the courtyard is empty. The house is completely still. He calls out. No answer. He calls again. Nothing. He goes to the neighbors. More voices join his. Together they shout toward the front door. Not a sound comes back. Police are called. The gate is forced, and the moment officers step across the threshold, they stop. The smell reaches them before anything else. Inside the living room, Mr. and Mrs. Lin are dead. Over 100 wounds between them. The scene is one of the most violent in Taiwan's modern criminal history. But here is the thing that will haunt this investigation from its very first hour. The Rolex watch on Mr. Lin's wrist, expensive, unmissable, worth more than most people's monthly salary, has not been touched. And in the upstairs wastepaper bin, neatly folded, are several tissues stained with blood. Pay attention to every clue, because by the end of this story, you will already know the answer. October 11th, 1998, 7 in the morning. A newspaper delivery boy arrived at the Lin residence. He was a university student who supplemented his income with early morning deliveries. He knew the Lin home well. He knew that Mr. Lin was usually outside, exercising or spending time with the family dog. That morning, no one came out to meet him. He waited. He called out. He knocked. Silence. He went to the neighbors, some of whom were relatives of the Lin family. Together they stood outside and shouted into the property, a crowd of voices calling for someone to open the door. Nobody came. The police were called. When officers broke through the gate and approached the front door, they smelled it before they saw it. The metallic, heavy scent of blood in a closed space. It hit them as they crossed the threshold. Inside, in the living room, they found Mr. and Mrs. Lin. The scene was catastrophic. The walls, the floor, the furniture, everything that surrounded the couple bore testimony to the violence they had endured. Forensic officers arrived. So did higher-level investigators from the city department, called in due to the severity of the case. The crime scene was carefully examined. 2 distinct locations of initial attack were identified through blood evidence. The primary site was the upstairs bedroom, where the assault began. From there, the victims had run. The trail led down the stairs, along the corridor, into the living room where they died. 3 things stood out immediately as anomalies. First, the cash in the house was gone, but the valuables remained. A Rolex watch, still clasped to Mr. Lin's wrist, had not been touched. A professional thief would never leave a watch like that behind. Second, the family dog. A large animal, kept outside, capable of raising an alarm the entire neighborhood would hear. Not a single neighbor had heard it bark. Not once. In the upstairs bedroom, beside the dressing table, a small wastebasket. Inside it, used paper tissues, stained with blood, placed there neatly. Police searched every corner of the house, but found no trace of their son, Lin Qingyue. His unexplained absence cast a heavy shadow over the investigation. Reluctant as they were to accept the possibility, investigators were forced to confront an unsettling conclusion. Their son might be connected to the case. Police made a deliberate choice not to reveal what they truly suspected, announcing publicly that this might be a case of patricide. A child killing his own parents risked alerting the real target of their investigation. Instead, they issued a statement through media channels describing the case as an apparent robbery gone wrong. They requested that family members come forward to assist police and to help catalog missing valuables. The next day, Lin Qingyue appeared at the station. He was 19. He had just spent the night celebrating at the beach after his parents' deaths. He sat across from investigators and showed almost no visible grief. He reported calmly that on the night in question, he had been with his friends at a recreational area near Yangmingshan. He'd heard the news through media coverage and had returned immediately to cooperate. His 5 friends were called in separately. Here, the investigators employed a specific tactic. Instead of isolating the 6 young people entirely, they were placed in different corners of a large hall, far enough apart that they could not hear each other's conversations, but close enough that they could observe each other's body language. It was a deliberate psychological tool. Each person could see the others being questioned. Each person watched others nod, shake their heads, look away, fidget. They could not know what was being said, but they could see that things were being said, that things were being confirmed or denied, that their story might be unraveling. The pressure was immense, and in that pressure, the inconsistencies surfaced. Some said they had learned about the crime from television. Others said they'd read it in a newspaper. But they had been together, on an outing at a coastal site. When a group of friends is out together and one person discovers alarming news, they show everyone immediately. They don't independently, simultaneously read different media. The story didn't hold. Then came the hands. A routine part of the physical examination revealed that each of the 6 had something in common. Their fingernails were trimmed short, but in the narrow groove between nail and fingertip, in the place where a nail meets skin, there were traces of a dark reddish substance, visible, lodged too deep to scrub away. Blood travels into that channel and doesn't wash out easily. The only way to fully clean it is to wait for the nail to grow and trim it again. Until then, it hides there, just beneath the surface. Forensic testing confirmed what investigators had already suspected. The blood was a match for Mr. and Mrs. Lin. Every one of the 6 had it. In the crevices of their fingertips, they carried the proof of what they had done. When the evidence was presented, the group confessed. All 6. Fully. In detail, he described how he had made each person participate. 1 strike each. A shared crime to create shared silence. He spoke about taking the money, driving to the coast, spending the night. His accomplices corroborated everything. They were young. The oldest among them was 20 years old. The youngest was 17. They had never faced serious interrogation before. Under the weight of forensic evidence and methodical questioning, they offered little resistance. The Lin estate sat along a winding mountain road in Linkou District, Xinzhuang City, Taipei County. It was the kind of address that announced success before you even rang the bell. The house was grand, wide, set back against a hillside with a broad courtyard at the front. Thick walls, heavy doors, the kind of home that felt insulated from the noise and trouble of the outside world. Mr. Lin had built all of it from scratch. He started as a chef, a talented one. His skill in the kitchen translated into business acumen, and over the years he grew a modest trade into a chain of successful restaurants. He worked hard, he invested wisely, and by the time his son was born, he was wealthy enough to give that child anything in the world. He had been married before. His first marriage produced 2 daughters, both now grown and living independently. When that marriage ended, he remarried. His second wife gave him something he'd long hoped for, a son. They named the boy Lin Qingyue. From the moment he arrived, Lin Qingyue was treated as something extraordinary. In a culture where sons carry the family name and the family future, he was cherished beyond measure. He was the heir, the pride, the center of the universe. Whatever Qingyue wanted, Qingyue received. This was not neglect. This was not cruelty. His parents believed they were giving him the childhood they'd never had. A life without struggle, without want, without suffering. They were building a throne for their son, and they had no idea what they were creating. Lin Qingyue grew up in the way that only the truly privileged can, without consequences. When he misbehaved at school, his parents intervened. When he clashed with teachers or classmates, the problem was smoothed over with money or apologies that came from adults, not from him. When he wanted something, a toy, a game, an experience, it appeared. Always. Without question. He was not taught the word earn. He was never shown what it meant to wait, and he was almost never told that something he wanted was simply unavailable. By his teenage years, he had become the de facto leader of his social circle. He was generous with his money because the money felt limitless. He brought friends to restaurants, to entertainment venues, to places most young people his age could only dream of. He paid for everything. He was the provider, the host, the untouchable center around which a group of younger, impressionable friends revolved. He was 19 years old and had never once been held accountable for anything. And then his father looked him in the eye and said, "Enough." Lin Qingyue had been enrolled in a 5-year vocational program, a path that combined upper secondary school with a college diploma. It was his parents' attempt to give him a structured future despite his weak academic record. A compromise. A gift, even. He stopped going. When his father discovered the truth, something shifted. Mr. Lin was not a soft man beneath his generosity. He had clawed his way to success through discipline and sacrifice. The idea that his son, his only son, would simply abandon his education without a word was not something he could accept quietly. He confronted Lin Qingyue. He shouted. He struck him. And then, the unthinkable. He cut off his son's allowance entirely. For the first time in 19 years, Lin Qingyue was told no. The humiliation was unbearable. Not just the argument, not just the struck blow, but the fact that it happened in front of his friends. The young man who had always been the leader, the one who paid for everyone, the one no one questioned, had been treated like a child in front of an audience. His father had also discovered that Qingyue had been taking valuables from the house and selling them to fund his lifestyle. Items that his parents owned. Items from the home he'd always treated as already his. The confrontation was public. The shame was searing. And Lin Qingyue began to plan. He first explored purchasing an illegal firearm through underground channels. The plan fell through for reasons that were never made entirely clear. No weapon was obtained. His girlfriend at the time worked at a private clinic. At his request, she stole liquid sedatives from the medical facility. Drugs that could render someone unconscious if introduced into a drink. Qingyue planned to put his parents to sleep, then stage a traffic accident, drive them to a cliff road, push the car over the edge, make it look like fate had taken them. But when he mixed the sedatives into their tea, the liquid turned a vivid, unmistakable shade of green. It was impossible to miss, impossible to serve without suspicion. The plan collapsed. He sat with his companions and arrived at something simpler, something direct. A cleaver, already in the house. No acquisition needed, no complicated staging, just steel and intent. Alongside Qingyue were 5 people, his girlfriend, his closest male friend, and 3 young women who moved in his orbit. The youngest of them was only 17. None of them pushed back. None of them refused. They were young, impressionable, loyal to the boy who had always paid for their fun. When he told them what he intended to do, they listened. And they agreed to help. The exact timing of what happened that night, reconstructed from confessions and forensic evidence, is as follows. It was deep into the night. The elder Lins had gone to bed. They were asleep, unguarded, at home in the house they had built. Lin Qingyue and his closest male friend moved from Qingyue's bedroom toward his parents' room. Qingyue entered first. He was the one who started. His parents woke. They cried out. They struggled. They ran, leaving a trail of blood down the staircase and into the living room below. Mr. and Mrs. Lin fought to survive. At the base of the stairs, Qingyue's accomplice joined the attack. By the time it was over, both parents lay in the living room. The total number of wounds on their bodies exceeded 100. Mr. Lin sustained approximately 60 injuries. Mrs. Lin nearly 50. Their faces were struck repeatedly, disfigured, unrecognizable. Qingyue, fearing they might still cling to life, continued striking after they had already collapsed. Then he called his girlfriend in. She used a syringe taken from the clinic, loaded with poison, and injected the substance into both victims' bodies. A final measure, an act of certainty. To bind his friends together in guilt and silence, Qingyue gave each one a turn. Every person in that house that night was made to strike one blow apiece against the bodies. One strike each, a shared act, a shared secret, a chain that connected all of them and that none could break without implicating themselves. When it was done, Qingyue took all the cash he could find in the house, leaving behind a Rolex watch on his father's wrist and a home full of expensive valuables. The money was enough. He wasn't there to rob. He was there to inherit. He loaded everyone into his car, the luxury car his parents had gifted him on his 18th birthday, and drove to a coastal recreation area near Yangmingshan. The group spent the night there, eating, drinking, celebrating, while his parents lay in the house below. In May 2002, the court delivered its judgment. Lin Qingyue was sentenced to death. His 5 accomplices received sentences ranging from 5 to 16 years in prison, based on the degree of their involvement. The girlfriend, who supplied the sedatives and administered the injection, faced the heaviest penalty among them. The others were sentenced according to their roles. Lin Qingyue remained on death row for a period that he later described as the most agonizing of his life. In Taiwan, as in many jurisdictions, an execution date is not announced in advance. Condemned prisoners live in a state of perpetual uncertainty. Every morning could be the last. Every sound in the corridor might be the footsteps of someone coming for them. Every night might not be followed by another. He reportedly found religion during his time in custody. He took a religious name, reportedly meaning awakening or enlightenment. He signed papers voluntarily, offering to donate his organs upon death, a gesture interpreted by some as genuine remorse, by others as the act of a man desperately seeking meaning in his final days. Whether it was authentic contrition or the final performance of a person who had always known how to present himself favorably, only he could have known. In May 2002, Lin Qingyue was executed. He was 23 years old. Understanding what happened inside Lin Qingyue requires stepping back from the crime itself and examining the decades that preceded it. He was not abused. He was not neglected. He did not grow up in fear or poverty. By every visible measure, he was among the most fortunate children of his generation. And yet, there is a psychological phenomenon that researchers sometimes describe with a simple metaphor: the child and the candy. A man walks past a child's home every day and gives the child a piece of candy. He does this consistently, without fail, day after day. Then one morning, he has forgotten to bring any. He tells the child, "I'm sorry, I don't have any today." The child responds with anger. Why? The man has given freely, generously, repeatedly. He owes nothing. But in the child's mind, the gift has become an expectation. The expectation has become a right. And the right, when violated, becomes a source of grievance. Lin Qingyue had received his equivalent of candy every single day of his life. Not candy, but cars and cash and freedom and deference. Not once had the supply been interrupted. Not once had he been asked to earn it, or be grateful for it, or acknowledge it as a gift. When his father finally stopped giving, when he was finally told no, for the first time in 19 years, it did not register as a correction. It registered as a theft, as a betrayal, as something being taken from him that was rightfully his. Even his mother's quiet, secret generosity, slipping him money behind his father's back, trying to soften the blow, was not experienced as love. It was expected. It was her duty. She was simply fulfilling an obligation. The parents who built a throne for their son had unknowingly raised someone who believed he was entitled to stand on it, regardless of who had to fall. 2 daughters from Mr. Lin's first marriage lost a father they had known but lived apart from. They were never directly harmed, but the loss and the manner of it left wounds that no verdict could close. The friends and accomplices served their sentences and returned, eventually, to lives they had to rebuild after carrying the weight of what they had participated in. Whether those years in prison changed them, whether guilt or remorse ever truly settled in, is not part of any public record. The house in Linkou District was eventually sold. What became of the estate that Lin Qingyue murdered his parents to inherit, he never saw. He never spent a day of freedom living in the wealth he had destroyed his family to claim. There is a question at the heart of this case that sits far beyond the reach of courts and sentences. How do we love our children? Not whether we love them. That is rarely in question. Most parents, like Mr. and Mrs. Lin, love their children with the full weight of their hearts. They give everything they have. They want to protect their children from the struggles they themselves endured. They build comfort and safety and abundance around them. But love without limits is not entirely love. It is also, in some proportion, a failure to prepare a child for a world that will not always yield.